that you like run the place, right?
I am the president and CEO and love the staff and volunteers I work with.
Oh, do they pay you to say that?
No, they don't.
Do you do that for like, just cause?
Just because they are awesome.
I love her.
And
Thank you, Nancy.
Oh, there's too much love going on here this morning. So, having said that, I'd like to introduce you to Nancy Joy, who is the chair of the Education Solutions team.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Right. We're going to talk about what you do in just a second because that sounds really interesting. But what's new at United Way these days, Karen?
Well, a couple things are new and a couple things stay the same. We have been at this work for 95 years. This is our 95th year. So that's the work that stays the same, is that we continue to invest.
In this community, 95 years?
In this community, 95 years. So it's a huge milestone to reach for any organization to have been connected to volunteers in the community for 95 years. One of the things I'm most proud of is this inaugural dashboard that we rolled out. So it's a dashboard that shows community, donors, and stakeholders how their investment in us financially is making results happen across the community of Lucas, Wood, and Ottawa County.
And you guys, people should know that United Way is really a facilitator of, I think, is it fair to say the empowering of community agencies so that they are better able to serve their constituents? Does that make sense?
I think that's one of the roles that we play. Don't you agree, Nancy?
I would agree, yeah. I think the agency plays a role of supporting the community, but really helping us advance the community, as I think about as an employee within the community, that we're focused on education, income, and health.
So in the last few years, though, it's the first time that you've actually sort of narrowed your focus to specific.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so in our work around education, income, and health, I like to think of that work really as the ladder to a good life. You know, if all kids and all families have access to education, if all of our residents have access to financial independence, and if everyone has access to good nutrition and health care, you can move your life forward.
Absolutely.
So United Way is there to help people move their life forward with our nonprofit partners who are huge partners in this work. And then at the same time, sometimes people fall down or fall through the cracks. And we're also there then with the needs of helping people move forward with shelter, with basic food and essentials to help advance their life.
Is this a shift in your role?
I think it's more of a more sharply focused role.
That's a cool way to say it. You've been at United Way as a volunteer for a long time. Do you see it as a shift?
I think we're becoming more focused and more surgical in what we're doing. And I think we're not just doing this as a United Way, but we're doing this really as how do we improve the community that we live in.
Yeah.
So that it brings everybody along, just not one segment of the population.
So like, what's great these days? I mean, what are you really excited about?
Do you want to go
Oh my
first,
gosh,
right?
I am very excited. With this whole income, education, and health initiatives that are going on, all three really work together. As we think about, it's all about building a better quality of life for an individual, we look at education. Well, when you look at education with the child, it may not just be what's happening in the classroom. It may be stability in the home. So therefore, income becomes important into that aspect and stabilizing home life. Because we know that if a child moves 3 times in a year, you lose that year's education, so they really start to fall behind. We know that from a health perspective, if the child can't see, then they don't perform in the classroom. So the health initiative really comes along to provide eye exams and healthy lifestyles so the kids get nutrition and they're able to eat balanced meals so they're able to concentrate in the classroom instead of thinking about a hungry stomach. And all of this helps to provide educated individuals that can go into our workforce, that can move into the universities, and then become professionals back in our community.
Yeah, it's amazing to me that, I guess because I've worked in social services for all of my life, so I'm pretty familiar with the circumstances that people live in this community. It's always amazing to me that people don't really understand that sometimes there are kids who are moving a half dozen times in a school year, and the impact that has on their ability to learn and to thrive, or that there's really are families that are living in their cars in Toledo, Ohio, and living in shelters in Toledo, Ohio, because they've lost that home that they really thought they would have a job and be able to pay for. So it's pretty cool that you guys are focusing on these kinds of issues.
Well, and one of the things that we've seen great success with, you mentioned, Donnie, the number of kids who move, unplanned or planned, here in Toledo, and we know that they then lose their track record for progress in school.
Yeah.
So one of the partnerships we have is with the Seymour Family Financial Institute, together with other partners, Lutheran Social Services and others, so that when a family has an unplanned move, let's keep that child in their same school. Let's build support so that child stays
program.
stable.
Yeah.
And what we've seen is with strategic, focused investment in that area, we help divert families from instability. We help keep children on track for student achievement, and that's a triple win. I mean, we all benefit from that. So I think, as you asked a couple minutes ago, has United Way gotten sharper focus? I think we're trying to get smarter at how do we bring the resources that this community has to bear on the issues that impact all of us, and then create long-lasting change at them.
Right.
You know, our focus now is not just to give money out,
Sure.
but really to generate results. And when those results happen, we all benefit.
Yeah, and I think your donors would like to know, and the rest of the community would like to know that you all actually track those changes. You track the impact that your dollars have in those organizations in which you invest.
You know, we absolutely do. And one of the, I think, opportunities that our volunteers have is they see all of these programs in action. Twice a year, we're out there actually visiting the programs or the sites, seeing what's happening, looking at results. It's not just a matter of giving them dollars, but it's also asking them to show progress and performance. And, you know, we have conversations where we think there's opportunities to improve as well, or where we think there's opportunities for collaboration. So that's part of the volunteer role that we have. The other piece that's really happening is a lot of our volunteers that are on what I'm going to call the community solution team that I chair, they're getting involved in those agencies as well, because it's not just a passion of giving money now, it's a passion of serving as well that we're seeing within them. And then we're also finding now they're advocating. So you go into the workplaces and they're talking about what they're seeing and how the dollars are being spent, and touching lives that don't see this day to day because they may live, you know, in a, I don't want to call it a privileged community, but outside of the communities that are really hard pressed.
I'm really glad that you raised that point, because one of the concerns that the community, that I've heard in the community for a long time, is that United Way, because of its structure, is a little bit removed from what really goes on in the community. There's been some discussion just before you came here, and I'm sure you've heard it as well, that United Way does not relate well to communities of color, that United Way is a little bit removed from those real issues that the underserved, the unprivileged in this community actually have. How would you respond to that?
Well, it's a great question. How I would respond is we are actively involved in many aspects of the community. For example, myself as well as 2 other members regularly attend and are part of the Toledo Community Coalition that put on recently the RACE forum, and that work has continued. I was a member of the panel.
Yeah.
Yep. Our volunteers who are so committed to this work, not only on the Community Solutions team, but this last fall in September, we deployed 1,500 plus volunteers on 3 days of caring days in central Toledo to work alongside neighbors to transform the neighborhood. That work continues to the day. We track within all of our organizations, so we have 60 programs, 68 organizations, 85 programs. One of the things that we track back on is what are the demographics of who you're serving? What are the income, the gender, the age, and that makes sure that we're serving those who need the services of United Way and its partners the best, and every 6 months we track that. And so I feel really good that we have a handle on. Now,
and your tracking shows what?
Well, our tracking shows that we are serving a population of kids and families who are on free and reduced lunch, who have limited, if at all, access to health care or financial stability. And so I think that we're in the spaces that we need to be. Now, do we need to stay there? Absolutely. But I think the other pieces that we are getting smarter at is also inviting people to the table.
That's a really great point. And you know, we never told them what the role of a solutions team is.
Yeah. Right. The community solution team, what they do is they actually look at what the strategies are, and those strategies are developed by community conversations. And I can talk to when education was really forming their strategy, there were front porch conversations. There were conversations in the churches. There were conversations at the schools. There were conversations just one-on-one walking down the block. You know, what do you want? And so we developed this whole strategy where we were heading with education. And in that then, as the funding comes in, the committee now says, okay, what programs or what agencies can help support programs to meet the needs of the community. And so then we'll defer, or we don't defer, we decide where that funding should go and how much funding for the year. And then that to me also looks at the progress of those agencies.
So just the construct of your committee is designed to bring people into the conversation to help make the decisions, to help form the strategy.
And in the committee too, people think that, you know, it may be a select group of individuals. It's a very diverse group, from social economics to you know, people of color and diversity, you know, religious thoughts, just there's such a combination there. And the conversations are very dynamic.
How do people get involved?
You know, the easiest way that people can get involved, and we love our volunteers, is simply call 211. They can also call our volunteer center manager and get connected that way, but really the easiest way is to call 211. We've got commitments like that Nancy serves, which is ongoing and for a series of different meetings throughout the year in multiple years. But we also have short-term opportunities for people to get engaged.
And so people just have to call 211.
Exactly.
The all-knowing Maricela Alcala, who will be here in our next segment. They just call her.
Exactly.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you guys. I'm so glad that you were here this morning. We're going to tell you all how to get in touch with United Way and maybe have some continued conversations with Karen. You'd probably be open to that.
Absolutely.
Before we leave you today, but stay tuned. We have to go away for just a moment. We'll be right back.